You walk into your home every day and you don't say, oh, this is my home. You know it's your home and you don't have to say that. But if you walk in and something is disturbed in the place, books are all over the place or something, all of a sudden that anoetic sense of everything is okay is gone. So the great Carl Lashley, who was the inventor of behavioral neuroscience in the 1920s, once said, and I think it was in 1949, that was the year I was born, he wrote in a book chapter that every conscious experience is preceded by a non-conscious set of thoughts. So you have this pre-conscious set of experiences that become the basis for what you're conscious of. So I struggled over all these things for years. And in the last book I wrote, The Four Realms of Existence, I came to a kind of resolution or understanding of what Lashley meant. And because I knew about this all the way back when I was studying split brain patient, what is that unconscious thing that underlies conscious experience? And what I came up with in the Four Realms is a two-mental model approach. So the idea is that let's say you've got all this information coming from your body, from your viscera. You've got information coming in from your senses, your eyes and ears. All of that stuff is being put together as information online. And so it becomes a kind of cognitive representation of that non-conscious information. It's non-conscious information processing that will allow you to to plan something in a goal-directed way, non-consciously, and to act on it non-consciously, have a goal-directed behavior. So, because not all of the things that we do that make sense are, I better do that, because we have these templates, we have these schema that we've acquired, and they're part of this unconscious process that we don't need to relearn or be reconscious about everything that happens. We just have to be, we don't have to, it's there. We respond non-consciously, and that gets confused with more automatic processes. So in the Four Realms of existence, I came up with the most basic realm of life is the biological realm. Every organism that has ever lived as a biological organism. Then there's a kind of neurobiological organism. Only animals have nervous systems, so only animals can have the neurobiological realm. Now, the neurobiological realm is an automatic realm. It involves reflexes and Pavlovian conditioning and so forth that allows you to detect and respond to danger automatically. You don't have to do anything. You're about to step on a snake, you freeze, and so forth. So this is the neurobiological level that got conflated so much with the cognitive and the conscious level in the study of fear. It's like the amygdala is the neurobiological level of fear, where you detect and respond to danger. You have these physiological arousal and these muscle responses. The next level, though, not all neurobiological creatures take the next step. The next step is cognition. So how much cognition a butterfly has, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to know. But let's just say that we know that from very sophisticated tests that rats and mice and monkeys and humans all have the ability to make decisions on the basis of cognition. And there are also birds that are very sophisticated in doing this, but they evolved this simultaneous or in parallel, separate evolution. It's parallel evolution because there's no ancestor of birds and mammals that are shared, right? That had this kind of cognition. So the jays and so forth are so famous for having these fancy cognitions are not that kind of cognition is not present in every kind of bird. It's only in slug bays and a few other birds. So there's no ancestor of that kind of cognition. Now, if you go all the way to the beginning of birds and reptiles, it's really something that has happened, cognition that happened in parallel in humans, in mammals and birds. So they were, all of this is post the end of the dinosaurs, when the birds and mammals began to be able to explore the environment more comfortably without the dinosaurs taking over all the time. So the point is that cognition is not necessarily conscious. So what we take away from this, what I take away from this, is that all mammals and some birds they cross the finishing line and they have cognition. And we know that in humans, we not only cross the cognition finishing line, but we also cross the consciousness finishing line. And so that we know that other humans are conscious because we have the same brains as all other humans. And so we're going to be different. We're going to use our brains differently, but our brains are different from other primates' brains, and their brains are different from brains of other mammals. So it's going to be different within this mammalian species. But there's going to be some similarities that overlap. So I'd like to emphasize the work of Endel Tulving, who introduced the idea of semantic and episodic memory long ago. And at one point, he also decided that each of those two kinds of memory, semantic memory and episodic memory, is associated with a different kind of consciousness. So episodic memory is associated with self-awareness. So he called that autonoetic consciousness, whereas the semantic memory is associated with noetic consciousness, which is factual knowledge. So all primates have factual knowledge. They all have working memory similar to what the human brain has. So that's a kind of cognition that is shared amongst primates. If you go to other mammals, lower mammals, they have a tiny working memory thing. So if we start with all mammals, we know we have this kind of working memory that expands as we go from lower mammals to primates to great apes to the human version of great apes and so forth. And it's possible that, some great apes have all these autonoetic consciousness things as well. But it's also possible that autonoetic consciousness is a unique human capacity, or at least great ape.
That was probably the best run on a question I've ever gotten in my entire life. You managed to preempt 15 questions in a row and answer them perfectly in one of the best monologues I've ever had on the channel. So
in Tulving's two kinds of memory and two kinds of consciousness approach, he introduced a third kind of consciousness, which is called anoetic. So autonoetic is self-awareness. Noetic is about factual knowledge, and anoetic is about more of a kind of feeling of rightness. In other words, there's not a lot of content to it. It's, for example, you walk into your home every day and you don't say, "Oh, this is my home." You know it's your home, and you don't have to say that. But if you walk in and something is disturbed in the place, books are all over the place or something, all of a sudden, that anoetic sense of everything is okay is gone. And you are bumped up to a noetic sense that something is wrong, and then bumped up to a self-noetic sense, in other words, autonoetic sense, that something is happening to me. Not just that something's wrong, but it's happening to me. So all mammals have this anoetic kind of capacity that, is it right or is it wrong? When they see food that is common, they approach it. They taste it. If it's not right, they leave it. So they have it's a kind of primitive consciousness that rats, for example, would have. And so if we were to understand in the human brain how autonoetic, noetic, and anoetic consciousness works in our brains, and which brain areas and systems are involved in each of those, then we could ask, does a great ape have the same systems as we do? If not, then it can't have the autonoetic that we do. And same thing with lower mammals, let's say primates, or the monkeys and so forth. Will they have the same circuits that we do? And that would involve working memory, and the primate working memory system is where our working memory system came from, and it's quite sophisticated in primates. So for noetic consciousness, it's possible that that since we think that noetic consciousness involves working memory in the human brain, and the monkey brain is similar to our brain in terms of working memory, then maybe monkeys have that kind of noetic consciousness, but perhaps not the self-aware kind of consciousness. And then we turn to mammals, and they have if the anoetic consciousness in the human brain, back up and so if anoetic consciousness in the human brain involves areas of the human brain that are present throughout all mammals, and that would be the medial cortical areas of all mammals. And so stick the brain apart, and you got the medial wall of the hemisphere, you got the hippocampus, the amygdala, all kinds of kind of circuits that are good in terms of cognition and so forth. And those could be present because all mammals have those circuits. If the human anoetic depends on those circuits, and all mammals have those circuits, then all mammals would have that kind of consciousness. So the idea is rats and mice and rats, mice, not birds, birds. So rats, mice, owls, chickens, monkeys could all have this kind, and humans all have this anoetic consciousness. Primates would have this noetic consciousness, and humans would have this autonoetic, because we don't really know about self-awareness in the human brain that well. But there is a part of the human brain right here called Broca's area 10 that has a part on the lateral surface of the prefrontal cortex that is present only in humans, possibly in the great apes, but you aren't allowed to study the great apes scientifically, so you can't see whether they have it. But monkeys don't have it. Monkeys have a version of it that's on the inside in the medial wall of the hemisphere, and so, but they don't have that part that makes us human, and that may be the basis of human consciousness. But that's just the speculation.
Really well said. I mean, it's a great practical example to show that it's not just a pedantic or semantic difference we're making here, that your change of heart. I mean, this has absolutely gigantic therapeutic implications. But I guess what I really want to drill down on is what these higher order theories of consciousness are really, what do they mean? When this unconscious amygdala survival circuit gets re-represented in the frontal lobes and becomes an experience that I guess, correct me if this is wrong, but this is sort of the central claim of these higher order theories, is that these unconscious circuits get re-represented in higher order frontal areas, and then they kind of become phenomenology, they become conscious experience. I'm curious if you have any idea why that is, what makes it special? Why is this re-representation different? Is it the shape? Is it the geometry? Is it the connectivity? Why is one representation this and another why is one experience and why is one not, basically? I know it's the biggest question in consciousness, but I mean, you would be pretty well, I think, to answer it. I think you're pretty qualified.
Well, it's all about the two mental models. You have the one that is preconscious, and that I've used talking to you for most of this talk with. You've asked me a question, so now I'm kind of conscious and think about it. The other part is that the preconscious is what is the basis of the conscious part. And so that is what a higher order thought is. Now, David Rosenthal, who's the father of the higher order theory, doesn't like necessarily the way I present it because, he has his theory. And this has been a problem, I think, in philosophy and neuroscience for a long time. The philosophers create a theory, then the neuroscientists start looking for the neural mechanisms. But when you do that, you learn things, you see things differently about the philosophical theory. But the philosopher doesn't want you to mess with his theory, which I understand. So I think we need to call it something else beside the higher order theory. That's basically what it is. It's like a stimulus comes in, it's integrated in this amodal thing that goes to the three systems: speech, behavior, and consciousness itself. The consciousness comes back into the stream and allows you to be conscious of what you were just conscious of, so you can maintain that thought of consciousness over time, maintain that feeling. And then if you get distracted, then you have to start over again. So it's very simple. It's really just a kind of a diagram that shows how integrated information across all systems of the brain becomes put into a code that has no modality. It's not visual, not speech. It has no particular kind of code. It's just pure. And that can be, because you have a system that's controlling behavior, the amodal can affect it. And because it's amodal, it can also affect speech. And because it's amodal, it can also affect our conscious experience and tie all three together.
Fascinating. Do you think it has a shape? Like, do you think in the future we'll be able to look at it and know from its very specific geometry and structure that, yes, that's a conscious experience we're looking at?
So, the one thing I should have pointed out that I gave this lecture at Yale a couple of years ago now, and this was the two-middle model system, and so what I was talking about is while I think this two-middle model system is good, it also introduces a kind of difficulty, because that means we never know in an experiment which middle model is talking, right? So I'm talking to you. You don't know which middle model I'm using at any particular moment. And I've gone back and forth between which ones I use. But this very clever student afterwards came up to me and said she had an idea how you might distinguish that, how you might tell. This was like before the kind of mega AI evolution that's happened in the last year or two. What she said was, well, there are all these studies that do use AI kinds of approaches to take apart narrative text or speech or the narration of the theme of a film, or the whole stream of thought of what a film is and all of that. So the idea was that you can pick apart. You might be able to pick apart what was conscious and what was non-conscious by how clear the speech was. Because when you start talking consciously, you're more coherent, whereas the unconscious part might be more kind of all over the place.
I hope you enjoyed this clip from the Giant Shoulder podcast. If you did, you should check out these ones next. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and thank you so much for the support.